Hey, what's up everybody? Clifton here, Clifton WP. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to show you a simple way to be able to align elements in your columns to the bottom of the column. Now, typically this is useful if you're building a 2-column, 3, 4, or even a 5-column row and you have different lengths of information in each column. What this will allow you to do is it will allow you to be able to align the last element in those columns to the bottom of the column so that it's in line with the adjacent columns, giving a much more pleasing aesthetic. Kadence provides a very simple way to be able to do that, but I'll also show you a second way to be able to accomplish this that's also very easy to implement. So if you are ready to learn how to be able to align your last element in the columns to the bottom of that column, then let's go ahead and jump right into it. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at a scenario where we need to apply this solution. So I have 3 examples of rows that have content inside of the columns within those rows, and there are different lengths to the content. So here's a very simple one here. It's just 3 columns. And inside each column is an image, a title, description, and a button. And they're of different lengths. So you can kind of see how this looks staggered like this. Okay. And if we scroll down, we have a different example. And in this case, we have an image, we have a title, description, and we have a text link or a text link button. And to get this effect, the reason why this is a little bit more advanced than this one is that in this case, we're able to add some padding to the outer section here to be able to pull the content in a little bit, create some spacing. But over here, the padding is only applied to the textual content, and the image is stretched full to the edge of each section. So this means that there's a little bit more elements involved to be able to create this effect. And then the last one is a very common one that you'll see, which is on a pricing table where you have different benefits depending on the level that the user can get engaged with. You'll see sometimes where you have the pricing table staggered like this, with the buttons staggered in this way, where it would be a lot more aesthetically pleasing if everything were aligned in the same plane. Okay, now let's take a look at what the solutions look like. So here is the solution where we have the element, which is the button here, aligned all the way to the bottom, and then we have the rest of the content at the top. So everything on the adjacent columns has the same level for the buttons. Okay, so this is what we want to achieve. And as you can see, this looks a lot neater, looks more uniform, and a lot more aligned. And if we scroll down to our text link version, you can see that here as well. And if we scroll down to our pricing table, you can see that here as well. Okay, it just gives it a much cleaner, much nicer look to the site, much more organized, and definitely much more aesthetically pleasing. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and apply these solutions, and we're going to do everything from scratch. So I'm going to build every single component so that you can see how these are created, and you'll see all the settings that I apply both to the rows and the sections and the elements themselves so that we can get this exact result. Okay, so here we are with the fresh install of WordPress, and what you're seeing here is the default 2025 theme that comes when you install WordPress for the first time. For the benefit of those who may be discovering this content for the first time, the theme that we're actually going to be using is the robust Kadence theme, which is free in the WordPress repository. And we're also going to be installing Kadence Blocks so we can build out the sections and rows and the pages and then be able to apply the solution to our scenario. So let's go ahead and install the Kadence theme. To do that, just go ahead and navigate to the dashboard. And then from here, we're going to go to Appearance, Themes, click on Add Theme, and then you can do a search for Kadence. You'll see the Kadence theme here. Click on Install and Activate. Okay, so now we have the theme installed. Let's go ahead and install Kadence Blocks. From here, we're going to go to Plugins. Going to click on Add Plugin, and then from here, we're going to do a search for Kadence Blocks. You'll see the Kadence Blocks plugin right here. Go ahead and click on Install Now and Activate. Okay, so we have Kadence Blocks installed. We have the Kadence theme installed, and now when we visit the front end of the website, you'll see now that the WordPress 2025 theme has been replaced with the Kadence theme. Next, let's go ahead and build out our page and start building out our sections to be able to apply the alignment to the bottom for each of those rows and columns. Next, let's go ahead and create a page and designate that page as our main page for our row build outs. So from here, you can actually go to New and select Page right from the toolbar. And we'll go ahead and title our page Align to Bottom. And then I'm going to go ahead and set up this page. So over here on the right hand side, I'm going to go to the icon for the page settings, which is this one right here. Go ahead and click on it. And we're going to go ahead and disable the page title, set the page layout to full width. The content style is going to be unboxed. And then the content vertical spacing, we're going to go ahead and disable that. And because we don't have a need for the header and footer, we're going to go ahead and disable that as well. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and publish my page. And then I'm going to click on the WordPress icon here in the top left corner. And then from here, I'm going to go to Settings. I'm going to go to Reading. And then under the Reading screen here, I'm going to select where it says your home page displays a static page. And we're going to set the home page to the page that we just created, which is the Align to Bottom page. Let's go ahead and click on Save Changes. And now when you click to visit the website, you should have a nice blank canvas to be able to build out your rows and sections on. Okay, so let's go ahead and create our first scenario here, which is just going to be a 3-column row with varying lengths of content within it. So from here, I'm going to go to Edit Page. And the first thing that we want is we want to create our structure. So it's going to be very important that we use the Kadence row block here. You can find that in the block inserter here. It's going to be the first row amongst Kadence blocks. Or from here, you can go ahead and type a /, start typing the words row, and you'll see the Kadence row layout block here as well. Let's go ahead and select that. And then here, the layout that we want to use is going to be a 3-column layout. And I'm going to go ahead and click here in the short menu to go ahead and set the inner content width to utilize the theme's inner content width, so everything is nice and centered. And let's just go ahead and visually add some padding here just so we have some nice spacing here. So we'll go 4x large. Okay, so now we can start adding our content. Okay, so in this case, it's just going to be very simple. We're going to add an image, add a title, add a description, and a button. So I'm going to click on the plus sign here. And let's go ahead and add a Kadence image. Click on Select Image. And you can grab one here from Pexels if you want, or if you have an image that you'd like to upload, you can also do that as well. I already have an image I'd like to upload, so let's go ahead and upload that image. And we'll click on Select. All right, so our image is now in place. Okay, next, let's go ahead and add our title. I'm going to click on the vertical ellipsis here and click on Add After. It's going to give me a new block line. I'm going to type a /, start typing the word text. You'll see the Kadence text block over here. And we'll say this is our title. Okay, I'm going to hit the Enter key, /, select another text block. This time I'm going to change the designation from an H2 to a paragraph, and then I'm going to go ahead and paste in some placeholder content. There we go. And then lastly, let's go ahead and add a button. I'm going to hit the Enter key, new block line, type a /, start typing the words button, and we're going to select the buttons block from Kadence, and we'll add a label. This is our button, and let's go ahead and align this to the left. Okay, so now we have our first column, and just so we can see what we're doing here, I'm going to go ahead and select the row, move over here to the right, go to the style. Under the background, we're just going to add a subtle background color here. Okay, and then so we can see our sections, I'm going to select the section. So you can open this up in list view, open up the row layout. Let's select the sections. Actually, let's select all of them, and I'm going to move over here to the right, go to style, background color, and we'll make the background color white. That way we can see everything. All right, fantastic. Okay, next what I want to do is I want to add some padding to this. So let's do that now actually. I'm going to open this up in list view, open up the row layout, select the first section, hold down my shift key, select the last section, move over here to the right, go to advanced, and I'm going to unify the sides here on the padding. And we'll just give this a nice small padding, 24 pixels. So it looks like we have a nice little card here. Okay, and there's a lot of spacing over here. So I know that's coming from the default margin here on our title. So I'm going to select the title, move over to the right here, go to the Advanced tab, and here where we have the margin, I'm going to just go ahead and zero this out. Okay, and then here where we have the image, select that, go to Advanced, go to the bottom margin, and let's go ahead and zero that out first, and maybe just add an extra small there. Okay. All right, so I'm happy with the way this looks. Next, I just need to duplicate this into every column over here. So it's really easy to do. I can either just copy this entire section, or I can open this up in list view, open up my row layout, open up that first section, select the image, hold on my shift key, and select the button block. That'll select everything. I'm going to press Command C, or you can press Control C if you're using a PC. I'm using a Mac. And then I'm going to click on the plus sign in the first section, select the paragraph block, and then press Command V. Control V if you're using a PC. And then let's just repeat that process here. Okay, so now we have our row layout with our 3 columns. And right now, everything has the same amount of content inside of it. So let's go ahead and add some additional content. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this text, and let's just add some more text so everything is misaligned. And let's do the same thing for this one, except I'm just going to change it slightly so that it's not exactly the same as the previous one, but it's still a little misaligned there. Okay, great. So we have kind of this staggered look to our columns. Next, what we need to do now is to go ahead and make it so that all the buttons are aligned in the same plane, okay, so that everything looks nice and neat. So to do that, it's going to be very important that you do this exactly the way that I show you so that everything works correctly. If you skip any of the steps, then you'll find that it won't work. Okay, so step 1, go ahead and select the row layout. Okay, so that's the original layout, the original container that contains these 3 columns. Go ahead and select that. We're going to move over to the right, and you're going to go to the Advanced tab. From here, you're going to go to Structure Settings, and then from the Structure Settings, you're going to toggle on Inner Column Height at 100%. When you do that, all the columns will have the same height. The buttons will still be misaligned, but at least the columns are now aligned correctly. So that's the first step. The second step is now we need to make some tweaks to our sections. So what I want you to do is select the first section. If you have a difficult time selecting the section, go ahead and navigate up to the list view, open it up, and then select the section there. Okay. So we're going to select our first section, and then I'm going to move over here to the right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to toggle on the vertical alignment to the top, just like that. Okay, so that first option, the vertical alignment. This is under the General tab for the section. Okay, I'm going to toggle that on to the top. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat that for all of the sections. Okay, so just go ahead and open up in list view if you want, or you can select each section. And I'm going to select the second section. I can hold on my shift key, select the third one, and then move over here to the right. And this way I can get it all done at the same time. I'm going to go ahead under the General tab for those 2 sections. I'm going to hit the vertical alignment to the top. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and close that. Now for the final step, which is to go ahead and align all our buttons. So what we want to do is we want to select the button. Now you have to make sure you're selecting the button container. And the way you'll know you're selecting the button container is that if you look to the right, it's going to say Buttons Advanced, right? Buttons Advanced. And then you'll have these 2 tabs. If you select the button itself, now you're selecting the individual button inside of the button container. See how it says single button? Okay, so that's not what we want to select. This has its own different set of styling particular to that specific button. We want the button container. If you open this up in list view, you'll see what I mean. So there is a buttons block, buttons container block, and then inside of it, this is our button. Okay, we want to select the button container. So select the button container. Let's close this. Move over here to the right. We're going to go to the Advanced tab, and you're going to look at this first top margin. Okay, Make sure that the custom size is not toggled on, because this allows you to select pixels and ems, rems, percentages, and view height. Make sure that this is off. Okay, so this way you're using the clamp settings. Okay, so here, this first top field for the margin, go ahead and click inside of it. And here you'll see where you can actually set a margin for this, right? Now, we don't want to use this to set up our margin. Okay, what we want to do is we want to apply a margin top auto. Okay, when you do that, you're going to communicate to the button to go ahead and take up the rest of the space that is in that column. So go ahead and click on auto, and you notice how the button goes ahead and aligns itself to the bottom. Okay, and everything else stays in place. Let's go ahead and just repeat that for this one here. Select the container, go to advanced, margin, auto. Okay, and then we'll do it for the last one. Select the container, advanced, margin top, auto. And now everything is now aligned. Everything looks nice and neat. And that literally is how simple it is to be able to do it in a simple row and column, just like this. So let's go ahead and save our work, and we'll view it on the front end. And you have a nice and neat column row. Okay, so what happens if we add more content? Let's go ahead and click on edit page. Okay, adding content anywhere here. So let's just grab a little bit more text, or even what we can do is we can just duplicate this text. So if I duplicate this, all the buttons will stay aligned. Okay, no matter how much additional content you add here. Okay, just go ahead and duplicate that. Okay, everything stays aligned. It looks nice and neat. All right, and that's how simple it is to do it in a simple one like that. So just remember, after you've set up your columns, click on the button container, go to advanced, and then click on the top field here for the margin, and then select auto, and you'll have it aligned like this. Okay. All right. Now let's go ahead and take a look at a few other scenarios, because there are some nuances where you may attempt to do this and it doesn't work. And I want to make sure that you know all the reasons why and what to do to make sure that this works for you consistently. And then as a bonus, we'll take a look at another way to be able to achieve the same effect. It's a little bit more complex when you have more complex layouts, more complex structures, but it can still be achieved. Okay, let's move on to our second scenario. Okay, for our second example, we're going to create another 3-column row layout with cards in it. And this time we're going to make it a little bit more complex on purpose so that I can show you how to do the same alignment, but with more elements inside of the columns. And we're going to do the same thing with having the columns have different lengths of content within them. Okay, so let's select that first row layout example we created. And then we're going to click on the vertical ellipsis here in the short menu. And we're going to click on add after. It's going to give me a new block line. I'm going to type a /. We're going to type the word row. We're going to select the row layout from Kadence. And we're going to select that we want a 3-column row layout. I'm going to go ahead and center this inside of the row by selecting the use theme content inner width toggle. And then I'm going to increase the padding here to 4x large on top, 4x large on the bottom. I'm going to build everything completely from scratch. So we're going to click on the plus sign here. We're going to select that we want an image block. Click on select image, and we're going to select the image that we had before. Next, let's go ahead and add a title below this. I'm going to click on the vertical ellipsis, click on add after, and in the new block line, type a /, type the words text, and we want to select the text block from Kadence, and we're going to say this is our title. Okay, I'm going to hit the enter key, /, type the word text, select the text block from Kadence, change the designation to a paragraph, and then we're going to go ahead and paste in some placeholder content. All right, and then lastly, hit the enter key again. We'll do a /, and let's go ahead and add a button. So type the word button. We want to select the buttons from Kadence, and let's give this a label. This is our button. And this time we'll style this a little bit differently. So I'm going to go ahead and align this to the left And then over here on the right, make sure you have the single button here selected. Over here on the right, I'm going to select that I want it to be an outline button this time, just to make it a little bit different from what we have in the first scenario here. Okay. All right. So it's kind of the same thing. We have the image, we have our title, we have our description, and we have our button. Let's go ahead and reduce some of the spacing here between the title and the image itself. So I'm going to go ahead and select the image, move over to the right, go to advanced, and let's make sure that under the margin bottom that there is no spacing there. And then we're going to select the title, move over to the right, go to advanced, and for the margin top, I'm going to make sure that there's no spacing there either. So let's make this complex on purpose. Let's say we want to build one of those cards or one of those columns where you have the image stretching all the way out to the outermost sides of the section of the column, and we want the content to actually have some padding around it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the list view here. I'm going to make sure on this second row layout here, let's open that up as well. And for the section, I'm going to select it and hold on the shift key and select the other sections as well. So I have all the sections selected. I'm going to move over here to the right. We're going to go to style, and for the background color, we're going to add just a subtle background color here so we can see what we're doing against that white background. Okay, just like that. Okay. All right. Then the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to select the image. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to toggle on the fixed ratio. So instead of using the image ratio, we're going to use a fixed ratio on this one. So if you move over here to the right on the settings for the image, under the general settings, you'll see over here under the image file size, use fixed ratio instead of image ratio. Let's go ahead and toggle that on. And let's change the size ratio to a 16:9 landscape. Okay, so it's going to give us a little bit more, less height on that image. Okay. Now, the other thing that I want to do is I want to add some padding around the content here. Okay, so to do that, instead of adding maybe margins individually to each item, I can just do that by adding a section inside of here, just placing all this inside of a section wrapper, and then going ahead and adding the padding that way. Okay, so I'm going to select the title, click on the vertical ellipsis, click on add before, I'm going to type a /, and this time I'm going to start typing the words section. This is going to give me the section container from Kadence Blocks, which is this one up here. Let's go ahead and select it. Okay, and then what I want to do is I want to move all the text and also the button inside of this section. Okay, let's open this up in list view so we can see what we're doing. So here's the section here. Here's our title, our description, and our buttons. So I'm going to select the title, hold down the shift key, select the button, and then let's go ahead and move that up right underneath the section until it's indented like that. And that's how you know it's inside of the section. Okay, so now I can select this section, move over to the right, go to advanced, and from here I can unify the sides for the padding, and we'll just add some small padding to that. Okay, all right, so see how much neater that looks. All right, so we have some nice padding here, but we're also able to keep our image meeting the sides of that section. Now all we need to do is repeat this for the other sections. Okay, it's very easy to do. All we want to do here is just go ahead and select the image, hold down the shift key. This time all you need to do is select that section, and then you can press Command C or Control C on your PC, or you can click on the vertical ellipsis here and select copy. Come over here to the second section, click on the plus sign, select the paragraph block, and then Command V to paste, or Control V if you're on a PC, and then repeat it for the third section. All right, so now we have identical columns inside of our row layout here. Now let's go ahead and do what we did before by increasing the text in the second and the third columns. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the text here, click on the vertical ellipsis, and we'll just duplicate that so that it's down a little bit longer. And then I'm going to grab just a little bit of text from here, from the bottom, and I'll just repeat it here. And that'll give us a different stagger. Now, let's say we want to align everything. Okay, remember the first step to do that is to select the parent row, move over to the right, go to advanced, go to structure settings, and then we're going to click on inner column height at 100%. go ahead and toggle that on. Okay. So now we've done it. Okay. And then if you remember, the second step was for us to go ahead and select our section, right? And add a vertical alignment to the section. So we're going to click on vertical alignment for the top. And notice that when I did that, it didn't align it to the top. It aligned everything here to the bottom. Okay. So this is the little nuance that I said that you may encounter in the process of doing this if you decide to make changes to your image. Okay. So if we do this for all of them, notice that we have this strange misalignment, even though we're vertically aligning everything to the top. Now, the reason this is happening is because whenever you use a fixed ratio on an image, the full image is actually still there. So you can see that outline. That's the full image right there. Okay, so there's a spacing there. It's just cropped to match the size ratio that you selected, but the actual full image is still there. And so because this image is relative to the main section that you have here, the behavior when you select some of those flex settings is going to be slightly strange. Okay. Now, we did accomplish aligning our buttons to the bottom, right? But it also moved our text as well. Okay. So how do we solve this where we can still play with the ratio of our image the way we want, but also get the same result and have everything aligned correctly? Okay. Because at this point, there's really no point in us adding the margin auto here. Just simply won't do anything. Okay, let's turn that off. Let's reset this. Okay, so this is the little scenario that I was talking about where you may want to do things a little bit differently. Let's just toggle that off, set everything back. So let's just select all the sections here under our row. So the section here, select the final section, so all sections selected, and we'll turn off the vertical alignment so everything goes back to the way it was. All right, so what we will need to do in this case, there are two options. Option one is what we need to do is we actually need to place our image, our title, and our description into one section by itself. And then we can either place our button in another section or just leave the button out entirely. Okay, now the reason you may want to put it in a section is because we want to be able to control the padding for the button. We can also do it margin, but you can do it any way that you want to. Okay, so let me demonstrate what I mean. So over here, if we open this up in list view, we open up our row layout here and we open up one of the sections, open the first one. You can see here we have the image and then we have a section that contains everything else. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to add the image, the title, and a description inside of its own section. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to click on the image, click on the vertical ellipsis here, and I'm going to click on add before. Okay, that's going to place a new block line above the image. I'm going to type a / and we're going to add a section here. Okay. And now that we've added that section here, okay, we can now go ahead and drag our image into that section. Okay, so I'm going to select the image and I'm going to move it up here into the section. You can see how it indents like that. That means it's inside of the section and now it's in the section. So we're still able to maintain our full width image here. So the other thing that we want to do is we also want to add our title and we want to add our description inside of the section alongside the image. But we're also going to take the section with us to be able to do that. And the reason why is because we want to maintain that padding that's kind of styling our text nicely over here. Okay, so to do that, I'm literally going to grab the section that contains all the content. I'm going to move it up directly under the image. Okay, so now everything is now inside that section. Now the final step is we want to take our button out of this section here. So we want it out of the section here. We don't want this button in the same section. We want it completely out. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to select the button. Okay, and I'm going to move it up all the way up outside of the section into the outer section here. That's going to place it outside here. and you can select the button now and just click on this arrow. That'll bring it down to the bottom, and now it's below all the others. So if we were to close everything here, you would have a section here that has your image, and then a section that has your content, and then outside all of that is the button kind of floating out here by itself. And you can tell because it's no longer taking on the padding of that section, so you can tell that it's outside of that. Okay, now that we have it like this, we actually have a few options to be able to go ahead and align this to the bottom. Okay, so the first option is we can do what we did before. We can select the button, we can select the section, the main section, move over here to the right, okay, and select the vertical alignment. So now everything's going to behave correctly. You don't see that stretching anymore. And then we can select our button, move over to the right, and under the advanced tab for the button, or the button container, here we have the margin, select the top margin and turn on the auto for that. And you can see how it aligns it to the bottom there. It's actually kind of a cool layout like this. Okay, so it aligns it to the bottom. And now it's working the way we expect it to. Okay, that's option number one. Option number two is we could select that, and let's just reset this back. So we place it back up here. Okay, option number two is we could actually go back to this section. Okay, and instead of toggling the vertical alignment to the top here, we can just go ahead and select the space between. And if I click this, notice that it pulls the button to the bottom also, just like that. Okay, so instead of styling the button with the margin auto, you can just simply do the section here, vertical alignment, space between, and your whole problem is completely solved. Now, what makes this great is now we can then take everything that we've done in this first column and apply it to all the rest. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the second column here. So that's this one here. And I'm going to select everything in that column and I'm going to delete it. I'm going to do the same thing for the third column here. Select everything in that column. Let's go ahead and delete that. And now I'm going to go back to my first column. I'm going to select it. It's now styled the way that I would want. So I can now go ahead and just copy the image and the section, and also remember to copy the button. Or you can just select the section that contains the image and the section. So now I'm going to go ahead and select my first column. I'm going to select the section that contains the image and the section. Hold down my shift key and select the button. Now I've selected everything. Press Command C or Control C if you're on a PC. Click on the plus sign here. Select the paragraph block. Command V to go ahead and display it, or Control V. And we'll do the same thing here. Paragraph. Paste. And now if I were to go ahead and increase the content in any one of these, let's duplicate. Okay, so, and let's do the same thing here. Let's just grab a little bit of content here. And then now we can actually select this section, these sections. So these second sections here. So the second section, and let's select the third one as well. Move it over to the right. We'll do a space between on all of these, and you can see now that everything is aligned to the bottom. Okay, let's go ahead and save this. Let's view it on the front end. Okay, you can see everything is nicely aligned to the bottom. Now, what if we wanted to add some spacing here? Well, there's a number of ways we can approach that. Let's go ahead and click on Edit Page. Come over here, and it's very easy to do. We can actually select the container itself, go to Advanced, and we can include some padding here. So we can do a small padding to match our section up there on the left and on the bottom. There you have it. Okay, and we can do the same thing for all the others. Small on the bottom, small, same here, small on the bottom, small. Okay, and now we have perfectly aligned content here. So if for whatever reason you have more content in one than you do the others, the buttons will still line up nicely. Let's view that on the front end. And that is our second scenario. So in our second scenario, instead of doing the margin auto, we just use the flex settings of the section block or the section container and set that to space between. Okay, so we are using this setting right here. So let's select that section. And we're using this setting right here instead of applying the margin auto to each container. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to our third and final scenario, which is going to be the pricing table. For our third and final example, we're going to go ahead and use what we've learned to create a very simple pricing table. Okay. So let's go ahead and select that second row or that second example that we created, and then click on the vertical ellipsis in the short menu and then click on add after. It's going to give us a new block line. Type /, type the word row. We're going to select the row layout from Kadence Blocks, and I'm going to select a 1-column row. Next, we're going to select the inner content width option, and what we want here is temporarily to set this to 600 pixels. Okay, and then let's go ahead and give ourselves some spacing at the top, so maybe 4x large and 4x large on the bottom. Okay, now we're ready to go ahead and add the elements for our first column of our pricing table. So I'm going to click on the plus sign. Let's select a text block. This is going to be our label. We'll call this beginner. And then here on the right hand side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to style this immediately. So I'm going to go to advanced. Let's go to the bottom margin here. I'm going to go ahead and zero that out. I'm also going to zero out the top margin. Okay. And then on the styling, I'm going to change the color to just a light gray. And I also want to change the size. So I want this to be a bit of a larger text. So let's go ahead and select large. Okay, great. Next, I'm going to go ahead and hit the enter key. Type a /, type the word text, select the text block from Kadence. And this time, this is going to be our price. Let's go ahead and make this $49 per month. And now let's go ahead and style this as well. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to change the color. Let's make that our highlight color. And then I'm also going to change the size to 2XL, so it's significantly larger than the label. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and highlight that per month part. And in the short menu, I'm going to click on the more icon, and we're going to select the advanced highlight. Then we're going to come over here to the settings, and for the advanced highlight settings, let's go ahead and open that up. We're going to change the color here to a light color. We're going to change the font size to medium, and then we're going to change the font weight to regular. Okay. All right. Next, we need to add some placeholder text. So I'm going to hit the enter key, type a /. We're going to select the text block from Kadence. Let's change the designation here to a paragraph, and then I'm just going to grab some text from here that's already available, and let's just paste that in here. Okay. All right. Next, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and sort of reduce the amount of spacing here. So I'm going to select that text, move over to the right here, go to advanced, and we'll start by zeroing out the top and then select the text for the price, go to advanced, and we're going to zero out the bottom. See how that looks? It looks a lot better. Okay. Next, we're now ready to go ahead and add the benefits for this particular level in our pricing table. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and add a divider to separate the two sections. So I'm going to click on that last word in that text that we added, hit the enter key, type a /, and we're going to type the words divider. You're going to see the spacer divider from Kadence Blocks. Let's go ahead and select that. And then over here on the settings, let's set the divider style to dashed. Let's set the color to be a little bit more prominent so we can see it. And then we'll set the divider width to 100%. Awesome. Next, let's go ahead and add our benefits right below it. So I'm going to click on the vertical ellipsis in the short menu for the spacer. Click on add after. Type a /, type the words text. We're going to select a text block from Kadence, and we're going to label this one what you get. And we'll do a colon here. And let's go ahead and set the size to medium. And I can hit the enter key. And we just want a list of benefits here. So Kadence Blocks has a block called the icon list block. Let's go ahead and use that. So I'm going to type a /, type the word icon. And you see over here where you have the icon list block from Kadence Blocks. Let's go ahead and select it. And let's go ahead and add our benefits. So we'll say this is just a benefit. Hit the enter key. And benefit again. And then what you can actually do is you can actually select the first one, hold down your shift key, select the second one. Now they're both selected. Click on the vertical ellipsis here in the short menu, and then click on duplicate. And now we have 2 additional benefits have been added. Okay. All right. Awesome. We'll stop here for the amount of benefits for the beginner level. Next, let's go ahead and add a call to action and maybe a little bit of reassurance text as well. Okay. So I'm going to select one of the items in the list here, move over to the right, and you see here where it says view parent block settings. That's actually what we want to select. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. That's going to select the entire icon list block. Click on the vertical ellipsis, click on add after, and now we have a place to be able to add our call to action. I'm going to go ahead and type a /. We want this to be a button. We'll select the Kadence Blocks button block, and then we'll label this get started. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and style this button now. So moving over to the right to the settings, let's set the button width to full, and then go to style, go to typography settings, and we'll set the letter case to uppercase. Okay. All right, now we need to add some reassurance text below this. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to open this up in list view. This way I can see the button container. I'm going to select it, click on the vertical ellipsis, click on add after, type a /, and we're going to select the text block. Let's designate this as a paragraph. And here we'll just say 100% satisfaction guarantee. All right, let's go ahead and center this. And let's go ahead and style it. So I'm going to move over to the right, go to the color. We're going to select a light color for this one as well. And then the font size is going to be small. And let's go ahead and add an icon to this. So I'm going to click on the icon settings, click on select icon, and let's grab a shield. There we go. All right, and I'm noticing that there's a lot of spacing here. So I know that spacing is coming from the default spacing in the button. So I'm going to go ahead and select the button container, move over to the right, go to advanced, and on the bottom here, we'll go ahead and zero that out and bring that a little closer, and then add the margin that we want, which is XXS, extra small. Okay, now we have one more thing to do, and our first column of our pricing table will be done. What we need to do now is go ahead and add a border around this section. So in list view, you can actually see the section right here. We only have one section in here. So let's go ahead and select it, move over to the right, go to style, go to border styles. And here where we have the border, we're going to select a 1 pixel width border. We're going to click on the select color selector here, and we'll grab our subtle text, but I want this to be a little lighter because that's going to be very harsh. So let's set this to about half. So 0.5. There we go. Okay, next in the border radius, I'm going to link all the corners, and we're going to set this to 6 pixels. Okay, then the other thing we want to do is go ahead and add some padding here. So I'm going to go to advanced. I'm going to unify the sides for the padding, and we're going to set this to be medium padding. All right, and now when we look at it, we can see we now have our pricing table. At least we have the first column of that. Now, ultimately, you can have 2, but in this case, we're going to apply and have 3. Okay, so we're going to apply this to 3 more columns. To do that, let's go ahead and select that section. And here where we have the short menu, click on the vertical ellipsis, click on duplicate. It's going to place another section right below it. Repeat that one more time. And so you should have 3 sections now, all with the same information. Okay. All right. Then the next thing that we want to do is we want to select our row. And then remember how we set the inner content width to 600 pixels. Now we're going to go ahead and reset that. And this time we're going to set it to inherit the max width from the theme, like that. And then here where we have the columns, we're going to increase the columns from 1 to 3. Okay, so you can just do that by clicking the arrows here. And now you can see our pricing table is now created and ready. Okay, So now all we need to do is go ahead and add more benefits and change some of the labels. And then we can go ahead and apply our alignment of the buttons to the bottom. Okay, so let's start with the labels. So we got beginner. Let's change this to professional, and the final one will be expert. We'll also change the pricing. So this will be $59 and this will be $79. All right, and then let's also add some additional benefits here. So maybe we add 2 more to the professional. So I'm going to select both of these, click on the vertical ellipsis, click on duplicate, and that's going to give me 2 more. And then on this one, we'll have 8 total benefits. So I'm going to select all 4, click on the vertical ellipsis, and click on duplicate. That's going to give us some more. Okay. All right, so now we have a nice little staggered pricing table. So what we're going to do next is let's go ahead and apply our process for aligning everything to the bottom. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to select the row, move over to the right, go to advanced, go to structure settings, click on inner column height at 100%. That's going to make all the columns the same height. Next, what we're going to do is set up our sections. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up in list view. Okay, open up the row layout, select the first section, hold down the shift key, select the third section. It's going to select all the sections for me. I'm going to move over to the right, click on the vertical alignment and set that to top. Now we're ready to align our buttons to the bottom. Okay, so to do that, let's go ahead and open up the first section. And we're going to go ahead and select our button container. Move over to the right, go to advanced, and here where we have the margin top, we're going to click in the top field and we're going to select auto. Okay, it's going to push everything down there to the bottom. Next, we'll go ahead and repeat that for the other buttons as well. So the second section, you can just click on the button here, then select the button container, move over to the right, go to advanced, margin top field, set that to auto, and then we'll do it for the last one as well so we can maintain the consistency. Select the button container, move over to the right, go to advanced, margin, auto. Okay, so now we have everything lined up in our pricing table. Let's go ahead and save the work and let's view it on the front end. And as you can see, we have a nice simple pricing table where everything is in nice alignment and it looks very, very clean. And with that, that will conclude our tutorial on how to align items to the bottom of your columns and your sections in Kadence using a very simple setting. Thank you very much for watching the video. Hey, if you enjoyed this tutorial, please do me a favor and smash that like button. And if you are new to the channel, welcome, and please consider subscribing to the channel and remember to hit the notification bell so that you are notified every time I release a new video, especially if you like learning amazing things in WordPress and Kadence. And for those of you who have subscribed, thank you very much for your support. I really appreciate it. And until the next time, I'll see you in the next video.